Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I am your host, JC Granger, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Sufiyan Ishaq, who is the founder and CEO of CloudHire. Sufyan, tell us a little bit about CloudHire. What is it that you guys do? How does the technology work? And who does it benefit?
Hey, thank you so much, JC. Thanks for having me. So CloudHire is a AI recruitment company, and we focus on two types of people, people looking for jobs and people hiring. Pretty simple. And our job is to use AI to help both of them meet as quickly and as efficiently as possible, in a nutshell.
Okay. How does it work? Like, I guess let's split this conversation because, like you said, it helps applicants and it helps businesses. So let's focus on the business side first. How do businesses interact with it? Does it integrate into any major, platforms like Indeed or LinkedIn? Like paint the picture for me as an employer. What would it look like for me to use this and where's my big benefit?
Yeah, 100%. So traditionally, when people are looking to hire anyone nowadays, you're posting jobs on LinkedIn. You might have something like an applicant tracking system, which is just a fancy portal that people use to post their jobs on multiple job boards. But essentially, they're just collecting resumes from multiple sources of data and then going through those resumes. Um, right now the market is as advanced as using AI to read those resumes and then determining if people are qualified based on what they're reading. But then there's a real problem now that every single resume is AI generated anyway. So what CloudHire does is that we added a layer of screening with AI where our systems use conversational AI to contact you, do your initial screening and create notes around it, and then invite you to take a technical test on our platform, again with a little bit of AI. And we have, an integrity monitor and things like that to make sure that the interviews are honest. And we use AI to evaluate if you have the technical skills required to do a job, whether it's like, you need to know accounting Excel for accounting, something basic, or maybe you're interviewing for a developer role and you need to know React. Our system understands if you have the skills to do the job based on the conversation that you have with it, which lasts about 30 minutes. Then we
Okay.
create profiles for each candidate. And instead of making decisions now on resumes, you make decisions on data-driven profiles.
Sure. Okay. So I'm glad you brought up the whole idea about how the irony is that a lot of these resumes are all AI generated anyway. And I was wondering if, like, how did you get around that? Like, does it detect that it was created by AI? But it sounds like you've got you force them into a more interactive flow, essentially, right? So I guess from what I'm hearing then as a business owner is that I can make sure that even if they do have a really good AI generated resume, I won't be fooled by assuming they have a certain skill set that they don't because your system will actually functionally put them through testing requirements and just by talking to them can tell basically it can call bullshit basically, right?
Exactly, and that's the whole name of the game right now. There's too much bullshit going on, so
Yeah.
you need a
Okay.
detector.
So on that note then, but you do have it also for candidates.
Yeah.
So, how do you service people looking for a job if the business side seems like it kind of has it down pretty well? What are the features for the consumer side?
So the consumer side, and there is some irony that you're about to catch over here, is that we use AI to write these resumes and distribute it at volume, right? So let's say that each candidate that comes in will AI optimize their resume for every single job that we apply for, and then we apply for like thousands of jobs for them. So now we're kind of like, okay, well, you guys are the problem, but really every single job that we do distribute, we only distribute on the basis of AI interviews that candidates come and take on the platform. So if an employer is looking to hire, they might have like a design interview that they're using to distribute from our platform. But if a candidate is looking to find a job, they might come on platform and take a couple of skill tests to prove that they have competencies in specific, technical skills.
Mhm.
And based on what our AI learns, we find jobs in the market that would really suit them and then write their resumes for them because not everybody is a writer. Not everybody knows how to write like, a resume to actually get seen. So we know that our resumes rank highly enough in the ATS that they get clicks to see their profiles. We expect the decisions to still happen based on the profiles. And when a recruiter clicks into those profiles, we recommend that they watch the right video or AI interview, assessment and go through it based on the job description that we applied for. So if they were calling for React, that's the first interview that would come up when they click the link for them.
Got it. Okay, so at least, I mean, even though you're kind of playing both sides of the game here, right?
Yeah.
Even so, with the candidates, you're still actually making them better candidates. Like realistically, you're not just rewriting, or fluffing up their resume. You actually are putting them through your own processes, and then that gets attached and goes out as well to really showcase what their actual skills are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So again, the whole idea of the candidates is to still highlight the profiles, right? Like the center is the profiles, and we need to connect the demand and supply through that. So I don't want, and we tell candidates all the time, like when they start using the service, we're like, we won't start your distribution until you've hit at least a 75 out of 100% on your technical scores for at least three skills so that we're confident in creating the right resumes for you. So we don't want to distribute, proverbial shit. Like we want to make sure that it's good data that's going out so that employers trust us still, right? Because like we are playing both sides. So we don't want to have employers think that we just spam their inboxes with candidates.
Got it. Okay. Well, and you brought up the technical side a lot. So I guess my question now is this site mostly only for applications and hiring for the technical fields like coding, or is this for anyone, even if your skills are in social media or in writing and PR, like I don't know, like is it just only for the technical fields? Because if not, then how do you test for the other stuff?
Yeah, so platform is actually really dynamic right now. We just closed two deals that are both around like the gray collar work region, one in Denmark and one in Ukraine. And what's really cool is that they need to speak Polish to do the job. And so one of them is about like cement pouring and stuff, and we need to see if this person has like the uh, again technical understanding of how to pour cement, right? Like, and that company is very much into like construction, so they want to know about electrical work, and so is the Ukrainian company in a sense. So it's not always about having technology, rather understanding the technicalities of doing a specific job. Our AI is not only you know, multi-faced in what it can accomplish from a skill perspective, but it can speak nearly every language on the planet right now. So if you want to evaluate people in French, you can do that. If you wanted to come and, evaluate people in Polish, no problem. German, no problem. And so that's kind of why we've been growing on a global scale. We're working with people in France, Denmark, Sweden, Ukraine, but then Latin America. We're interviewing people in India, Philippines. We're all over.
Nice. That's very cool. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's got an international pull here because now any company can use this regardless of language because it knows them all. So that's fantastic. But let's back up a little bit here. So, what inspired you to start this company? I mean, were you in corporate America or somewhere else, and at some HR firm and recruiting firm, and you hated it because you're like, this could be done better. Like, what inspired you to even come up with this idea?
Yeah, yeah, great question. Great question. So actually, I was working in healthcare finance early on in my career in New York. I was working for like a couple of years, and then COVID hit, and I didn't actually lose my job. So the job went remote. And while it was
Very
remote,
lucky. Very
yeah,
lucky.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I got pretty lucky. And with it being remote, I got the opportunity to travel a little bit. And while I was traveling, I was in India for a couple of months visiting my family, and my relative wanted to let go of one of their accountants, and so I was kind of talking to that person, and I realized that their kind of skill set was kind of exactly what I was doing, and I was getting paid like almost six figures at the time, and this person was making like probably like $500-600 a month or something like that. So I did something I shouldn't have in hindsight. But anyway, I learned what arbitrage is for the first time in my life, which was, hey, do you want a job? Right?
Yeah. You
Uh,
outsource your own job like on the clock.
okay, so I outsourced my own job, and all of a sudden I learned like, oh shit, I have time freedom now. Um, But what I also learned from that little activity was that um, there is global talent that's able to service jobs in the US market that, could become something. That was the first time in my brain, it was reoccurring revenue now from arbitrage, right? Like so that was kind of the precipice of the company. Fast forward a little bit later, and I realized that the company had a lot of problems in terms of their systems and stuff. And I've always been a system junkie. Um, so I wanted to fix those. But that got me fired. And that's a another story. But I guess that was kind of the start.
So when you outsource your job, you're doing great. When you try helping the company legitimately, they're like, "No, that you're too much now."
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. But after that, I just started sending some cold emails, seeing if I could get some more, like staffing work. And that's what kind of brought me into the world of HR. And I started learning the complexities of hiring at volume and at a global scale.
That's really cool. So let's talk about kind of the early day. Well, for one, how old is the company? How long you guys been around?
A little bit over 5 years now.
Yeah, because that time's about right from COVID and whatnot, right? Okay. Um, what kind of struggles did you have early on, and what kind of struggles are you dealing with now that you're trying to work through? I mean, we both know it's not all rainbows and unicorns when it comes to startups or owning your own business, right? So what were kind of the early struggles, and what are kind of some of the current ones?
Nice. So early struggles with like any business owner with like absolutely no background in what I was doing and just like starting it is for us was client acquisition early on. Um, I think I got lucky for when I started because things like cold email still worked, and now it's just so much AI. I feel like people don't even want to look at their inboxes anymore. So had a really strong outbound engine. But obviously, I think from arbitrage to actually getting my first client, I sent emails for like 6.5 months. And, yeah, so kept on tweaking my value proposition, just teaching myself, but really getting over the line with that first client. Okay, is this going to be viable or not? But I just kind of believed in the business model. I mean, it wasn't anything like new or special at that point, right? Like people were already doing it. At the same time, I was always a tech junkie. I really just like building systems and like, automating things.
Mhm.
So I was learning how to create this outbound engine for recruitment as a service. Well, more as staffing as a service, but also staying consistent. And I think there have been a lot of challenges in business for the last 5 years or whatever. But the single biggest factor is just, staying consistent and determined,
Yeah.
at every turn. Because 6 months is an easy time for me to just be like, maybe I should just do something else.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, you were resilient in the beginning, which is really, I mean, I think all entrepreneurs make it past that third year only because of resiliency. Because there's just always so much shit that comes up that you just never realize, right? That you never think is gonna come up and happen, and you learn to fly on the way down from the cliff, right? So, but what about the current one? So you're 5 years into it now. So what kind of struggles do you deal with in the company? like today, right? There's always something, right? So like what are the new things that you're like, okay, that's something we've got to tackle or address or that we're worried about coming down the pike, later. What are some of those things right now?
Oh man, so many things. Hiring too many people now. So, things are getting sloppy. We're like, oh shit, we're onboarding like 10, 12 people a week all of a sudden. And we're like, well, we really have to have better structure, better onboarding, but, more systems. I
You
need
mean
to have,
internally, like for your own growth? You mean like your own
yeah, yeah,
people?
for our own growth.
So
It's
you're
getting
growing
hard.
fast, so that's good.
Yeah, we're growing fast, but like for the first time ever, I'm like seeing churn, and I'm like, why is there churn? Probably because we don't have like the best onboarding when it's at like scale, right? Like, not as personal anymore, not as involved in the hiring. You got to
Mhm.
control culture. You got to make sure that the people that are onboarded still represent and understand the brand that you're trying to build when you don't even get to interview them before they're onboarded, right? Like,
Yeah.
I see new people on Slack. I'm like, oh, I don't know these people. But
You know, you bring up a good point though about culture because interestingly enough, your struggles right now might end up turning into new features for your software. Because remember, if you are your own client also. I
yep,
guarantee you use your own system to hire your own people, but you're
yep.
almost a victim of your own success in that sense, right? So do you think that some of these what you're now experiencing in this hyper growth, which again can be a problem also, as we've noticed. Do you think that might turn into some features that you integrate and say, hey, I bet we might have some clients that are growing this fast. And if they are having those issues, maybe here's a feature that helps because you have the AI. AI can be trained to help filter for culture. Also, like, is that something that's part of the current feature set? Or is culture how an individual company defines it not something that it's filtering for in your system right now?
So we are learning how to become better and better at behavior and culture, but it's a training exercise over there. It's really easy to figure out if somebody has the technical skills to do a job, but to figure out if they have, the right comment se voit, let's call it culture, but like let's call it like personality to succeed at a job.
Mhm.
That really comes from data to figure out if your historical hiring patterns and which have been successful. So it's been not slow, but definitely a learning curve for us. More data, more training, better output. On the same side, and you brought up something interesting, JC. You were like, "Hey, you're your own client." I am my own client. So the whole reason I made the product in the first place was because I was getting too many recruitment demands, and I was like, "This is too manual. I can't. We can't
Yeah.
keep doing this." Um,
The accidental CEO, as it be.
So exactly. So we were getting like a lot of hires, and I had the choice of like, do I keep on hiring more recruiters to throw at the wall? And then like, how are we going to continuously like create quality? So I was around 2021, I would say, considering I was really inspired by a company called Turing. They're really big in the game now in like the AI recruitment space, and they kind of inspired me to start looking at data for answers. And yeah, that's kind of where I started. I've just been solving my own problems to be to be honest,
Sure.
and productizing it.
That's good. Let's talk a little bit about, well, actually, with this, you're growing really fast, so I imagine you don't find it hard to scale, um, or or are you? I mean, or do you have bigger ambitions for where you want to be right now? And it's like like you're growing fast, but is it at the pace you're trying to grow? Like, kind of, is there anything stopping you from going way bigger? I mean, it sounds like you're doing really good, going international, and everything, but I guess I might as well ask the question.
Oh, it's a rabbit hole with entrepreneurship. You're one day you wake up and you're like down, killing it, and then the next day you hate yourself and you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not going fast enough. This guy just got, X million in funding. This company is doing more revenue than me. I gotta do more, gotta do more. So, yeah, it's kind of I think with every successful entrepreneur and like if anybody knows like what Hormozy says, you have to really believe in yourself and like that you are capable enough to do it, but then really hate yourself enough to keep
Yeah.
telling yourself that you can't do it so that you do it.
Yeah,
So
you got to keep that fire lit, right? You know, it's almost
yeah,
that what I tell my friends, I said to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to possess almost delusional confidence,
yeah,
right? Like you almost have to lie to yourself about it because that's how hard it is to make it, you know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you have to be like I'm doing great when you're not, and then when you are doing great, just hate yourself that you're not doing good enough.
You have to say to yourself, "I've got this," as they're towing away your car because you can't make the payments. Like literally, again, it's you know it's inspiring, but it's also completely batshit crazy if you think about it. That mentality that we have to have sometimes, right?
Yeah, so kind of we've put our B2C product into market in April. So since April, we've crashed our servers because we had too many people on
Oh,
product. So I had to,
nice.
buy another one, rebuild, and stuff like that. Since April, we've secured a seven-figure contract on B2B on a new on like just the recruitment contract, recruitment software, brand new, outside of like our existing recruitment staffing
Fantastic.
verticals and stuff.
That's
And at the same time, because I'm getting so many users onto product, I'm burning way more cash than I'm making. So now I'm like, oh shit, I have to raise money, right? So like it's like a learning journey because like we've traditionally been a cash flow business. I haven't raised, I've been bootstrapped and been spending my own money, and now I'm realizing I need capital so that I can continue to fuel the growth. Uh,
yep.
and it was like an entrepreneurial shift for me because I've always been on the cash flow side of things. So like
Mhm.
maintaining a green P&L all the time just made sense to me. And now I'm like I'm seeing all this paper growth per se, right? But like where's the money?
It's really hard to change that mindset because especially like I don't know how you were raised, but like I know that like if you weren't raised with much, like if you grew up poor or whatnot, like you these ideas of being cash flow positive are just kind of ingrained in you because you can't even fathom the idea of being underwater on it because that trauma built in as a kid, you know, it's like never had enough. And so then it's like you try to transition it and say, okay, yeah, I guess we'll take other people's money. And then there's also that control issue. You're like, no, like it's mine. You can't say anything about it because they're gonna ruin it, right? So it's like it's I've always said the difference between an owner and a CEO is the willingness and ability to let go. You don't have to like it. It's not the acceptance. I never accept it, right? But like no one's ever gonna do it as good as you. No one's ever gonna have the passion you have for it. And purposely knowing that you might have to give over some control or opinion or cap or equity, you know, to someone that you believe would be less than you in that scenario is, I mean, like I'd rather set myself on fire. It's so hard to think that way. So I commend you if you've successfully made that transition because that is not an easy mental gymnastics move to do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. For me, I was before actually considering the purpose of raising. I really thought about this for a while. Um, kind of the first model companies that decided to go the route of like equity, going public, and having shareholder value. I'm thinking about like companies like Intel, for example. They were private and not doing that well. And when they actually went public, it wasn't for raising external capital, rather letting their own employees start holding shares, right, within their organization. And what they realized was rapid, like hyper growth, because now the employees felt like they also had skin in the game, so they were working just as hard as the people that
Yeah.
that own the company.
Little parts of their creative brain are turning on that weren't turning on before. You go from robot to, to creator essentially in that scenario.
Exactly, exactly. So, um, I just realized that I am the bottleneck in every situation, in every way, shape, or form, as an entrepreneur, as a leader in my business. And every person that I give the equity to is in exchange for driving value to the organization is kind of what I'm at. So right now we're just restructuring some of our subsidiaries, like bringing in a cap table, letting out some ESOPs for these for my wonderful employees, so that they also know that what they're building, the value that we're creating is something that's shared. And I think that that's also turned a light on in them that like they're like, oh well, let me do more because it's mine.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I like that. Well, let's talk about how you're getting the word out there, right? I mean, you're on a podcast, okay, good. You got some PR going. What kind of marketing are you guys doing internally to even let businesses know that you're out there at all, like other than this?
Nice. So with the businesses vertical, it's been a lot of referrals and internal network. We are pushing out a new cold outbound engine. So I mean, we've had a lot of cold outbound infrastructure. We've done paid ads and all of that jazz over the last couple of years. And we still have a pretty decent engine for our staffing and recruitment vertical, which now we're like using our product to service. But now that we're selling a direct product, we haven't really started getting into the market because, and I mean, I sold it, but I still am at turning around and going like, I need to sell more and more, is because
Yeah.
we're just learning from our customers and creating the best product, like completely productized before we push it out for the companies anyway.
Yeah.
For the B2C vertical, it's like completely productized already. For B2B, it's a little bit productized and a lot bit like custom work based on the enterprises and like their requirements. And as they keep training us on like what their requirements are, and as I currently am getting ready to get my SOC 2 compliance and ISO compliance certifications and all that jazz, we're creating the product around it. So I'm not too focused on doing that much PR, at least for this quarter until my compliances start kicking in, and then I have like a fully out of the box platform to sell to businesses.
Oh, okay, very cool. Good. So then let's transition over to then the goals, right? So where do you see the company, let's say in 12 months? Like if we were to have this conversation again. And then also, where do you see the technology going that you're using right now? Like where do you see AI in this field in like 2 to 3 years, right? Because it's growing fast. Like what are some predictions you might have for that?
Yeah, 100%. This is a great question. So, it's not just this field, like AI in general is becoming pretty crazy right now. I mean, it is doing things that people could not imagine, and a lot of people are beginning to feel redundant almost because of how much it can do. And tech layoffs have been kind of proving it that well, AI is doing a lot. And so I keep telling everybody that AI is probably going to replace you unless you're using it to the max yourself,
Mhm.
right? Like, how can you, as with your skill set, whether it's in finance, whether it's in marketing, even if you're an artist, really, like, how can you use AI to the max so that you can 100x your output?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can either be run over by the horse or you can throw a saddle on it, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta ride the wave. So
Yeah.
so with that being said, in our market and niche, um, I'm able to successfully screen thousands of candidates on a daily basis, have their entire interview, their technical skills, collect their documents, their IDs, validate their identity, and everything with a team that traditionally would require like five, maybe even 8 times more people.
Mhm.
So very soon, how are you going to compete in the market against more companies that come up like this unless you adapt your systems? You
Yeah.
probably can't.
Yeah.
So for a 12-month outlook, I want to get to a place where a traditional recruitment company would need 100x or their resources, or rather, we're 100 times more efficient because with the AI wave, it's kind of about being lean and efficient, right? Like single teams of like 30 to 40 people are doing $50 million in ARR now.
Yeah.
Um, So it's kind of like the same thing over here. Right now, I'm just focusing on, I think the only hires that we want to make, we're kind of like stabilizing in the rest of our departments are just developers, and they have to be developers that are AI maximalists so that they're driving the value that we require in the business. So 12 months in 100x a average recruitment company is like a goal I have. It's not revenue. It's about being that efficient because I think if you are that efficient, you kind of just win in the market anyway.
That's a great point. And listen, I get all sorts of answers on that, right? Revenue is obviously a big one, but even then it's like, okay, well, gross revenue or net, and but when your goal is to make a better product, the money will come, right? Like that's the big lesson learned. What is probably the best advice you've ever been given, or like read in a book or something like that? Just something that stuck with you all through that maybe like really popped up throughout this entrepreneurial journey that you've had. What is probably the thing that you've held on to the most when it comes to that kind of advice or good quote or lesson or something like that? Other than, wait, hold on, you can't answer resiliency or never giving up because that's the one that's the everyone knows that one. Gotta give me another one.
Everybody knows that one. Well, that's the truth. That's the truth. You will literally look at like the pit of despair every single day
Yeah,
and be like, nah, nah, it's okay. Tomorrow. Uh, Tomorrow is always there. Talking about a business, it's just really a different word for business is company. And company is really just about the people.
Hmm.
So when you're building your organization, you have to be extremely intentional with who you're hiring, why you're hiring them, and what value they bring to your organization in terms of their vision and mission. And I think that that is the number one determinant factor for my success. And that's what I focus on the most as my skill set to become more successful over the last couple of years. The better I get at choosing those people, the better my business does, simply put. I don't hire people and tell them what to do. I want to hire people and have them tell me what to do. And I just want to hire people that, understand where the business needs to go and then bring in that value themselves. Simple.
Very cool. I like it. Um, where can people find you personally if they just heard something they really like and they want to reach out? Maybe it's another big partnership opportunity. And then where can they find the company itself?
Yeah, 100%. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Sufiyan Ishaq. I am probably blabbering about some role that I'm hiring. I have been just posting jobs, but recently I've been you know, how can I put it? I've been shit posting for the lack of a better phrase, and it gets a lot more views, and it attracts the right people for the culture I'm trying to build. So I've been doing a lot of that, and so if you're into that sort of stuff, you can always follow me on LinkedIn. And for the company, it's cloudhire.ai. And whatever you're looking for, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking for hiring, or whether you're just bored and want to talk to an AI that speaks a bunch of languages, you can find it there.
That's awesome. And for everyone listening right now, again, thank you for listening to another episode of The Future of Biz Tech, because this is how we find really cool nerdy tech podcasts like this one, right? So give it a 5-star rating, share it with people so that you can share it among all the other nerds like me and Sufyan here. So Sufyan, thank you so much for being on the show. And I want to talk to you a little more after this about CloudHire, because I like to talk to AIs and see if they know other languages too. I get bored. That's really all it's about.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for having me, JC.
Have a good one. We'll talk soon.